Hey, what's up guys? It's Student Size here, and the key word in that name today is going to be student. Particularly, as a student, we have a responsibility to pay down our debts, and those debts have to be paid off through loans. Loans are accumulated through banks, and those banks require a good credit score in order to have lower interest on the loans so that we can actually pay less over time. As such, I figured, hey, why not actually talk to you guys about the best things that you can do for your credit? And while I'm talking to you about that, maybe that'll help you with lowering your loans, lowering your interest rate, and getting them all paid off a lot sooner.
So I realized in post that I did not talk about this at all. So just as a legal thing, I'm not a licensed CPA. This is not official financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please go and talk to a licensed CPA before you make any financial decisions, and make sure that you're doing it right for yourself. Anything that I say here, like I said, is for entertainment purposes only. Now for the rest of the video.
So if our goal is to actually build our credit score, it makes sense to know how the credit bureaus factor in different things into our scores and ultimately calculate it. There are 5 different factors that they use for scoring that are most important. There are obviously a bunch of different things, but these 5 things are the primary drivers of your credit score. The first and most important is if you make on-time payments. The second is if you utilize your credit lines at all. And if you do, if you overutilize them or underutilize them. The third is the total length of your account history, how long you've had your oldest credit line established. The fourth is the total number of credit accounts that you have. And the fifth is the total number of account inquiries that are outstanding. I'll go in depth in all 5 of these in just a little bit, but just keep in mind that all 5 of those are very important to your overall credit score and your overall makeup in order to have a lower interest rate and have better loans overall. So let's go back to that first factor that I talked about with credit building, and that is on-time payment history. Essentially, your credit score is a makeup of how much lenders will trust you and how much you're going to be reliable in the future to pay back all of your debts with the interest that they give you. They'll give you lower interest if you're more trustworthy, and they'll give you higher interest if you're not as trustworthy. Are you more or less trustworthy if you actually pay off your previous debts and you have an outstanding history that you have done that? You're more trustworthy, right? That's exactly what credit bureaus are thinking. So as long as you have a built-up, established history of actually doing everything correctly, paying on time, or at least hitting your minimum payments on time, then you will look better in the eyes of the credit bureaus. And that's about 35% of your score right there. Just getting that payment down on time, even if it's not the full payment. Because when your banks and the different places that you loan from, for me, my credit card comes from Discover. If those loaners see that you're paying on time, the minimum payment, they will report to the credit bureaus that you are paying on time. They're fine with getting interest, but really they want to see that you're paying on time, that you're making that effort. And if you actually do that correctly, that will be about 35% of your entire credit score right there. All right, guys, so as you can see, we're going to a new place. We're just roaming the area that we're at and trying to find the best place to get this film in and really make it look good for you guys. So considering the effort that this is taking, as well as finding out exactly what I'm going to talk about, if you wouldn't mind, I would really appreciate it if you went down and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell for notifications. Maybe if you could, go down and comment, tell me exactly what you liked about this video, if there's anything that I can brush up on, because not only would that help me create better content for you guys, but it also helps the YouTube algorithm out so that I can reach more people and hopefully help even more people, just like I'm trying to help you guys. All right, thank you. We'll see you at the next topic. It'll be credit utilization. All right, guys, and next we're going to talk about credit utilization. Now, just like I was talking about before, credit companies want to see that you are actually using their credit lines? If not, then what's the point of getting the credit, right? That plays along into the trustworthiness, because if you saw that someone was asking you for something that they have something of and they don't use it, wouldn't you be a little skeptical? I know I would. As such, that's exactly how they think, and that plays into the scoring very strongly. Now, when it comes to actually scoring this, credit card companies are primarily looking that you have a low utilization, but not no utilization. So with your utilization, essentially what that is how much credit do you have available to you on one hand, and on the other hand, how much credit do you have shown to have used at the end of the month? If the credit that you have shown to have used at the end of the month is more than 1, 2, 3, 4% of your credit that you have, then it starts to become a little higher, but that's actually good. Going up to about 10% is totally fine. Once you go beyond 10% of your total credit allotted to you utilized, that actually will turn into something bad for you. Credit card companies are going to be like, okay, this person is asking for more credit when he's already using a lot. Do we really know if he can pay it all back? We don't. That's essentially what's going through their head. And as such, they're going to be less likely to give you more loans, more lower interest rate loans, or another credit card, or maybe a higher limit on your credit card, or anything of the sort. The other factor to that though, you can go too high with your utilization, or you can go down to 0% with your utilization. That low of a utilization rate actually hurts you a lot more than you would think. It's essentially like you're saying, hey, I want you to give me more stuff when I'm not using any of my stuff right now, so I don't really have a need for it, but I want you to give it to me anyway. They're not going to really go for that. It's not as likely. And as such, they'll lower your credit score based on your lack of utilization. So keeping that utilization at a low range so that you show that you don't necessarily depend on it and you are likely to pay it back, but not non-existent, so that you show that you're actually using it and you're not just asking for it so that you can have it. That is what's going to help you the most in this category. This accounts for, if I'm not mistaken, about 30% of your credit score. If I am mistaken, I will go ahead and pop a number right up on the top left corner of the screen, and that will be the number that is more accurate. Anyways, that will be the end of this little segment. We'll see you at the next place for the next topic, which is total length of credit history. Next up is going to be the total length of your credit history. Now, it may not be the best thing to hear, especially for someone like me, or hopefully you, the audience, who are primarily made up of probably college students. The thing about it though is, if I were giving out money, do you think that I'd give it to someone who doesn't really have proof that they're good, that they're reliable, have a track record of that? Probably not. I'm more likely to give it to people who have that track record, who have had that length of your account. That's the only thing that gives this power. It's more trustworthiness. And as such, the best thing that you can do for this part is just start as soon as you possibly can. As soon as you start your credit line, that age will accumulate over time. You don't have to do anything else after that. But it's just getting that start that's really the issue. If you don't start now, if you start way off in the future, like when you're going to, let's say you completely forget about this, don't care about your student loans, the interest rate that you get on it, because maybe you get it all through federal and that interest rate is guaranteed to you. Maybe you don't, but you have some other way to keep your interest rate down, which there is at least one way that I'm aware of, but I'm not going to get into that today. That's all fine if you want to do that for yourself. But then if you keep from starting your accounts and you start an account when you're like, oh, maybe I want to get a house, then what's going to end up happening is you're still going to have that length of your account history way down, and that lack of an age of account history is going to bite you when it comes to actually getting a loan for your house. Anything in the future that you need a loan for, this is extremely important to start as soon as you can, because if you do, you will have built that trustworthiness for these companies, and they are much more likely to give you a lot lower interest rate and give you loans that you will actually be able to afford in the future. I know I'm being a little dramatic, but it's true. We need to make sure that we set ourselves up for success in the future. And the best way to do that monetarily when it comes to this stuff is having the lowest interest rates possible. If we want to have the lowest interest rates possible, the sooner we start on working on that, the better, right? That's exactly what I think, and that's what credit bureaus think too. So that is going to be it for the third factor, but it's more important than people think. Some people think that you can just put it off for a while. I don't, and hopefully you don't either. Next up, we're going to talk about total number of credit accounts, and we'll see you somewhere else. All right, guys, and fourth up is the total number of accounts that you have. Now, it's fine to have one account, two accounts when you're starting out, but really, over time, you want to build the number of accounts because it's showing to these credit card companies that you're responsible not just with one thing, but with multiple things, so they don't have to feel afraid, like, hey, am I gonna give him this new account and will he be able to manage it? Will he be able to actually take care of all of it? They don't have to worry about that as much if you have that track record of already having taken care of it in having multiple accounts already. So the sooner you can get multiple accounts, the sooner that they will actually raise your credit score over time. Now, you don't want to have too many accounts. You don't want to take out accounts just for the sake of it. Like, there are different methods that you could use for taking out your credit accounts, such as attempting to credit card churn. Credit card churning is useful, and it can be very useful for your credit score as well as for just getting the extra benefits that credit card companies will give to you. But especially when you're starting out and you don't necessarily know as much, you're not as experienced, I would advise to stay away from that for a little bit. And if you're going to have any sort of loans, important loans like a student loan, I would advise not getting a credit card within 6 months of that. That'll be more covered in depth in the next topic though. The other part though is that you have different kinds of loans. Now there's obviously credit card loans that you'll see. Those are called revolving loans. And revolving loans are essentially loans that you have access to X amount of money, but you can utilize a lot less of it, right? And that lack of utilization is fine. You just have to pay off what you utilize. That's totally fine. But on the other side, there are the more withstanding loans. And these loans in particular, you have to take care of right away. What happens is you end up taking out the loan, and that loan directly pays for whatever you're going for, whether it be your student loans, whether it be a car loan, whether it be a home loan, or even a personal loan. I don't necessarily usually suggest taking out a personal loan, but it can be done. It can be very useful in certain circumstances, so I understand it. When you deal with these loans, installment loans are what they're called. They're going to be a different kind of loan altogether to lenders. They're gonna see it and be like, okay, this person is actually able to take care of these installment loans, as well as if you have a revolving loan or a credit card, those loans. They'll be much more impressed that you can manage both kinds rather than just, hey, you have a bunch of credit cards. Maybe he just made automatic payments for everything, made it so that he didn't have to think about it. It's probably better, and it is better in their eyes, that you have multiple kinds of loans and that you prove your track history with that. But at the very least, have multiple loans or have multiple revolving lines of credit, because then you'll prove that track record of being able to handle multiple so that you can take out another when need be. Next up, we're actually going to be talking about that fifth and final part, and we're going to do that back inside. That part is going to be about the number of inquiries that you have, and we will see you back inside then. All right, guys, last but not least is number of credit inquiries that you have taken, especially within the last 6 months. So different lenders are going to see you as higher risk if you have taken a bunch of inquiries out, if you have asked many different places for loans and they have looked at your credit score. When a lender looks directly at your credit score, that's what's known as a hard inquiry. A hard inquiry is something that hits your score for a very brief time, a period of 6 months, but it's something that hits your score to a point where lenders start to think, hey, I should back off with this person, or at least not give him as much as I would otherwise. As such, you want to be a little careful about these. You don't want to go overboard trying to get 5 credit cards in the span of 6 months. Don't ever go for that, in my opinion, or 5 different loans. Usually, if you're looking to get a house loan, a car loan, or any other big loan that you know about ahead of time, within that 6 months before you're about to get it, do not pull out another loan, whether it be a credit card, whether it be a small installment loan, anything, unless absolutely necessary. If you do, it marks you as higher risk, and that marking of higher risk will hurt your credit score to the point where you won't get as many benefits as you've been building up with every other aspect of your credit score. Don't let this be the one area that you end up making a mistake and screwing the rest of your score. All right, guys, and that's going to be the end of the video. Hopefully you were able to learn something new about your credit score, learn how to build it, and most importantly, learn how to not completely screw it over, because if you were to completely screw it over, that could set you back potentially years in the future. I know that this isn't quite the usual style of videos. Usually I'm going for workout videos. My channel name is Student Size though, not just Student Size. And what I mean by that is I'm not focused solely on the weightlifting, solely on the fitness aspect. I want to focus a little bit on these other aspects and bring them to your attention so that hopefully you'll be able to develop yourself as a student while in college or wherever you are and come out of the other end a better person. We'll see you in the next one.